Good morning. You're listening to 90.3 WMSC here from Montclair, and welcome to the Morning Buzz. I am your host, Philippe, and I'm, of course, here with my wonderful co-host.
Good morning, I'm Tara.
And our newscaster extraordinaire. How are you, Hallie, this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So we got some fun stories to talk about, some interesting stuff. We got a very important Supreme Court ruling that came down yesterday that is worth celebrating amidst a lot of crazy stuff going on right now. We've got this interesting, some cool stuff coming out of Warner Brothers with some movie releases.
Right, like also what the Oscars are going to do.
We got a prickly situation going on down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, as well as some shipping woes with eBay. But first,
we have to give a eulogy to our dear friend HawkSync, the website. Yes. But we'll discuss that when the time is appropriate.
But first, give us that newscast, Allie.
Good morning. In the U.S., the Supreme Court made a monumental ruling stating that federal law prohibits discrimination against gay and transgender people in the workplace. This is one step in a positive direction, not only for the court, but for justice and equality. In New Jersey, Governor Murphy says, quote, expect weeks, not months, when referencing the stage 3 of reopening the state. Stage 3 is the last stage before our, quote, new normal, and would include gyms, bars with limited capacity, expanded dining, and critical in-office work. They're watching closely as Governor Murphy does not want to reclose later in the year. In international news, North Korea blew up an inter-Korean liaison office building that was just north of the heavily armed border with South Korea. Suho, the South's vice unification minister, who was Seoul's top official at the office, called the demolition a, quote, unprecedentedly senseless act that shocked not only our people, but the whole world. In entertainment news, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences announced last night that the 93rd Academy Awards telecast has been postponed by 2 months to April 25th, 2021, in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. The Academy also announced that the Governor's Awards Gala, which takes place in the fall, has been postponed to a later, unspecified date. And the weather here in Kingwood is currently 68. We have a high of 78. It's going to be really nice out. What about you guys?
Here in Newark, we got ourselves 73 right now. It's going to be cloudy most of the day into tomorrow. High of 75, low of 58. So it's nice, and you got nice higher temperatures, but it's not too warm. You got a nice breeze outside. What about you, Tara?
And yeah, in the Grove of Cedar, Happy Valley. Were you really?
I was going to ask you, how's it in the Grove of Cedar?
Nice. Great mind. See, right here, you got to bring it around. It's 70, and we're looking to go up to 79, and then back down 56 later, which is, I'm fine with it. Go out and catch some sun later, and then
get some vitamin D.
Just did that vitamin D, exactly.
Up your energy.
I don't know how long this nice weather is going to last, so I'm going to try to get outside while it's here.
Yeah. So let's jump right into a couple of stories having to do, of course, with the current pandemic. We have just more information on New Jersey's plans to open up. This is an article from NJ.com titled NJ Reveals Reopening Plans for Youth Sports with Restart Dates in 3-Tier Risk Groups. We might be seeing, youth sports as soon as June 22nd opening. First with sports like low risk of contact, like golf and tennis, because tennis, you're pretty far away from the other person most of the time. You don't really have to get in contact. No, because you have to be around people for curling.
Have you ever been curling?
I haven't, but I want to.
I would love to.
To be fair, y'all can play tennis on Wii.
That's true.
Good. Play the
true.
Wii.
Nice on.
Tennis and golf are two of the main ones that can come back as early as June 22nd. Phil Murphy said part of stage 2, athletes can start competing a week from today, being yesterday. But others that can involve other close contact sports like football can only do certain drills for the next month. We do have a quote from Murphy himself saying, "Sports is an integrated part of so many of our communities and our lives and our families. And we want everyone to be healthy and to be able to get out and play, but even more, we want everyone to be safe," end quote. Stage 3 of the reopening plan, as Ali mentioned in the newscast, is going to pop up soon. The health experts believe that, of course, it's easier to spread the disease indoors than outside, mostly because, if you're in an enclosed space and you're around people, it's harder to distance. It's harder to kind of air things out. It's why places like parks and pools are some of the first that are going to be reopened, because precautions are easier to take. And of course, wearing your mask is always a big one. Even if you can't social distance, the mask is always a big help. And I think that can really segue into our next story too, because we have a story from the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Right.
Protests in Philly haven't meant a spike in COVID-19 cases so far, health officials
Right.
report.
This is from the PhillyInquirer.com. It talked about basically 2 weeks after the protests against police brutality in Philadelphia drew crowds of thousands and led to clashes with law enforcement. Data maintained by the city indicates that large gatherings haven't caused a spike in COVID-19 cases so far. City Health Commissioner Thomas Farley said, "We can't guarantee there's not going to be a later rise, but it's a good sign that we haven't seen it yet." So basically, this is kind of just a preemptive, look and analysis based on the fact that we, there was a lot of concern going into the protests that this was going to be something that would spike coronavirus cases. So I'm kind of glad that we haven't seen that so far, and that allows us to focus on the issues at hand, which is always important.
I did the math real quick, because they talk about the protests in Minneapolis and Minnesota. They tested about 3,300 protesters. They reviewed about 40% of the tests and showed that 1.4% tested positive out of those, that 40%, which is about 18 people. If you do the math going forward, you're going to get not... sorry, math is difficult.
Math is difficult, which is why I didn't do it.
Yeah, but if you do the math real quick to figure out if 40%, you have just a 40% of tests, you have just a 1.4% positive test rate. You get only about, I want to say, a 3.5% positive test rate out of 3,300 people. And then if you do that math as well, just if we're gonna, we're gonna be special and intelligent people over here.
You are
at the Morning Buzz. I am. That's
I'll
out
be
of
over here.
3,300 people. It's 115 positive cases if you were to extrapolate the math past the 40% to 100%. Which, you ideally you don't want anyone catching the coronavirus, but
Obviously.
if we're talking about a situation where we see right there that covering your mouth and wearing a mask helps, even if you're not able to social distance. So I think it's good. It's nice to see, and it's good that it won't be able to vilify these protests and say like, oh well, look what they've done.
Right?
Is this the right thing to have done?
That was a big concern going in, and something that a lot of people brought up.
But I am glad that we're able to, these demonstrations about something that's really important in this country and really worth.
It needs the attention dearly.
The fact that it's not killing people in terms of the coronavirus is good. But we're going to go into some incredibly positive news right now. Yesterday, the Supreme Court handed down a ruling that the 1964 Civil Rights Act protects gay, lesbian, and transgender employees from discrimination based on sex. The ruling was 6-3. Justice Neil Gorsuch, Trump's first appointee, wrote the majority opinion, and along with Chief Justice John Roberts, they were two of the conservative judges that flipped and voted in line with the four liberal judges. And the decision was 6-3 in favor of this protection. And I mean, I don't think we can really emphasize how important this is. This has been a case that's been... How long? When did Amy Stevens first bring this to the court systems? Because the story behind this is it's the same case that ended up leading to marriage equality, and the big push towards legislation of equal rights in terms of partners and marriage with
I'm
you know,
trying to
same-sex
find it.
partners.
I'm trying to find when
But
Amy Stevens which that's a picture of.
yeah,
Amy Stevens' case started. Let me pull it up real quick. Who she actually passed away before this this ruling came out. We ran that story. She passed away earlier this year. Please stop throwing up ads while I'm trying to do research on air. I
it's really
wish you
difficult.
wouldn't.
We have some quotes from Gorsuch himself that I'll throw up while you look more information. But he said it is impossible to discriminate against a person for being homosexual, transgender without discriminating based on sex. The justice wrote, even as well, two employees attracted to men, one male, the other female. If the employer fires the male employee for no reason other than the fact that he's attracted to men, but not the woman who is attracted to men, that's clearly firing based on sex, he said. That's pretty straightforward reading. It's another reason why the Republicans were looking at Gorsuch when he was first put in. Anton Scalia was the Chief Justice before him that passed away, and Scalia was known for being by the book in terms of reading the text of the law, and this is what Gorsuch has done. You know, just from that short quote, basically saying, if you're firing a man because he is attracted to and, you know, in love with a man, but not a woman for being in love with a man, that's discrimination right there. And a lot of conservatives are mad about that. Oh, well, you got what you wanted in terms of a justice that would rule based on the text and based on a literal and classical interpretation of what's being read. And that's what he did.
Right. As far as Amy Stevens, who was the first, you know, the person, she's a trans woman whose case was kind of the focal point for all of this. She was fired in 2013. The first time the courts commented on it was 2018, and now we have a ruling now. So it gives you like a rough timeline of this. I just want to take you guys real quick from the perspective of a trans woman myself. What this week has been like, it is a level of terror that I'm not totally familiar with, because it's one thing when you're dealing with, you know, discrimination from people, discrimination from, you know, individuals, but it's another when the entire government of the country you're in makes an official statement saying that you know, what they did with insurance was essentially saying that healthcare providers had the right to say no. Because, you know, which includes any medicine for me, for my heart. I've been on hormone therapy for months. They could turn that down. They could say no to me at the door if they saw that I was trans and didn't want to see me. So my doctor could say no to me. I think it's kind of hard to explain to people that didn't have to face that fear, what it's like to have to wrap your head around that, you know, healthcare providers can now say no to you because they don't like you, or because they don't believe in what you are. That's a level of fear that I had not really, you know, I've never encountered before. And it was something not just for me. I mean, I'm in a relatively comfortable climate here in New Jersey, but for people around the country, down south, just trans people I know that have been on hormones for years, and now there's a question of now if their healthcare provider wants to cut costs, they can, or their insurance provider wants to cut costs, they could say no, based on what Trump had said. But this is such a beacon of hope to me, and it's such an important thing that this is not just a ruling, because that was the thing with both Obama and Trump, is it was, you know, kind of these back and forth rulings and executive orders that didn't really hold too much weight in terms of whether you know, somebody could change them, which is exactly what happened. But to see this go through is just, it makes me so happy. It does right by Amy Stevens. It does right by a lot of people that I know that have lost jobs and been let go from jobs when their you know, their gender identity was found out, or their history was found out. I know people that have been fired just for being who they are. It makes me so happy knowing that at least somewhere there are some people that still are willing to speak up for the right thing. And the hope is, and I'm sure this is going to have to be put to the test, but the hope is that this Supreme Court ruling could be extrapolated to directly shut down the executive order that Trump put through about, insurance being able to discriminate based on what they wanted. This is, and, not just for trans people, but for the LGBT community as a whole. You had people, we talked about this dating back to, the 70s with things like, the movement behind Proposition 6. Like, there have been people trying to discriminate against LGBT people in the workplace for years and years and decades. And to be able to have something come from the highest authority in the land to say, no, this is not right. These are human beings and you can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
From literally the highest authority in the land it makes me so happy. And it makes me, it's a played out saying at this point, but faith in humanity has been restored a little bit.
Yeah.
I was legitimately scared. I was legitimately bracing to fight myself and for people I know and care about quite a bit to have to fight, what would happen if I had to, what would happen to my body if I had to go off hormones? What would happen to my body if I had to find healthcare providers and went without a healthcare provider because my doctor decided to say no to me? People that we're friends with a lot of people on the LGBT spectrum. What would happen if they lost their jobs? What would happen if they couldn't, pay for things that they needed because, a lot of them don't have support from their families.
And this is a reality for some people.
It is. Yeah. And the fact that, the thing with the insurance that still hasn't really been spoken on yet, but the hope is that this is a direct response and can be used to kind of lay down the law on that and be like, no, you can't deny people health care because you either want to save money or just don't agree with who they are. This is it's who we are. That's what this comes down to. This is not a matter of my preference of what I want. It's not a case of want. I think a lot of people, and I'm not going to go too long on this just because this is a bit of a different discussion for another day. But a lot of people use the phrase want, use the pronouns that they want to use. They can date whoever they want. It's not a case of want. It's who we are. As sure as you wake up in the morning and the sun is out, and the sky is blue, and at night the sun goes down, as sure as that happens, I know that I'm a woman whether I was born one or not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so important to the entire community and other marginalized people that this affects too. And listen, I am not going to say, all right, enough with the civil rights stuff. We got something we wanted. No, it's back to work. It's back to work after this. Black Lives Matter and police need to be dealt with.
There's still a lot of work to do.
There's still a lot of work to do. But it's worth taking a moment to pause and be thankful and recognize that something really amazing has happened in this country. And
use it to reinvigorate, use it to push you forward. Like, something good happened because people kept fighting. It gives you another reason to keep going. It gives you another reason, like, we did this, we were able to push for this. We could pick up momentum. We could keep going with these different protests. And I'm glad, we may not see as much coverage as there once was, but these protests are still happening. These people are still demonstrating. People are still fighting out there. And I think it's really important not to take the foot off the gas. This isn't a reason to take the foot off the gas. This is a reason to keep the foot on the gas and keep going.
But just long enough to shift to the next gear.
Yeah. And I completely agree where I thought, I read this morning and this morning / last night, and I was like, there is something left. I was like, we have something left. Because last week I thought it was funny. And this kind of ties in, kind of doesn't. I had said to my mom, I was like, it's getting really hard to be like a 19-year-old girl college student lately. And lo and behold, a ton of Title IX stuff was taken away the same night. and I was like, it's ending. I was like, this is it. I was like,
Yeah.
this is harder. And now that this came out, I was like, there are people that understand. And I think the fact that I don't know, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Justice Neal, going by the book, like we might have thought he was going to be like, obviously he was appointed by President Trump, but that shows that like there's reason and there's people understanding that like it's like there's so much more. I was thinking about something and it just left.
I think it's important too
Your
because
points received though. You
it's
made a
Thank
good
you,
point.
Tara.
it's great that you bring up Title IX because I think people forget that these movements that we have going on aren't independent of each other. They aren't in a vacuum. When we talk about women's rights, we talk about the rights of Black people, of uh, Latino people, Native people here in the United States. We talk about the rights of LGBTQ people. All that stuff intersects.
Oh
Because at the
yeah,
end of
and
the day,
historically has too. The original pride flag had black and brown stripes on it.
and the current pride flag has black and brown stripes on it.
Right.
They brought it back.
And we could do that's a
see,
whole history lesson on how the religious right divided civil rights in America in the 80s, but that's a different story for a different day.
but we're seeing the movement, and just kind of put a nice little bow on it. This movement right now, we see that it understands, for the most part, the intersectionality of everything going on. Because you don't just see, it's not just crowds of Black people that you see in these protests. You see every single race you can imagine. You see every gender identity you could imagine. You see every sexuality you can imagine. Like, everyone's there. Men, women, non-binary, like, you name it, non-gender conforming, they're there.
Right.
We're fighting for each other.
Exactly. And just before we wrap this story, I just, as a trans person, I want to just literally, for whatever it's worth, say thank you to the judges that understood this and went to bat for us, all the people over years that have went to bat for us, because there's too many to even name. And especially for Amy Stevens, who passed away before this could get ruled on, because she was the case that brought this to national attention. She's a transgender woman who literally let the entire country watch her, as she was the one that went to bat and spoke up in the way that she did with the ACLU. So I just wish she could be here to see it, and I hope wherever she is, she's smiling and understands the importance and the gravity of what she's done.
Yeah. So let's go talk about some other official business, I guess. We have
I believe the phrase you're looking for is business.
Official business. But we have more information on the 2021 Oscars, and information on movie releases as well. So the telecast for the 2021 Oscars, according to Variety, has been pushed back all the way to April 25th, 2021. So 2 months. The eligibility rules for the releases has been also extended. There's a qualifying release date from January 1st until February 28th. So January 1st of this year, 2020, to February 28th of 2021. So not only did they push back the actual award ceremony by 2 months, they also pushed back the eligibility date by 2 months.
There's going to be lots of competition with
there
that.
There is. So
yeah.
So it's important to know that there's 4 other times. This is the 4th time that they actually postponed it. Once was in 1938 after massive flooding in LA. There was another time in 68 after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. and 81 after an attempt on the assassination of Reagan. I think it makes sense,
right, because who's been in theaters since COVID started?
Yeah.
Either people that are squatting
idiots,
or
right, or idiots. And it's that's kind of just what I wanted to say, was like, and there's some movies that got smart with it, like, and did home releases when they, if they had the resources to. And also Amanda Marino, one of our
wonderful producers
who makes this thing happen, was talking about how Hollywood's finally reopening the Screen Actors Guild released guidelines for sets, so how people going forward and making sure people stay safe on sets. That's cool though, that this is they're kind of being aware of this, and
And we're also
You know.
getting things like drive-in theaters making a big comeback. Whether there a lot of local theaters are trying to put that together, and we also have something called Lot 60 here in New Jersey, which is
You ever been to a drive-in theater?
I've never been to a drive-in theater, and
Never.
Oh, it's really fun.
Lot 60 seems like it'd be perfect for this because Montclair State itself and Montclair Film, in a partnership, are putting this together. And opening weekend was actually this past weekend, and then on Friday, June 12th, this past Friday, they 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 presented a screening of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Is this no? I think this is gonna be this or last Friday.
It's last Friday.
Last Friday, okay. And then on the 13th, it was Sing, the 2016 movie.
That movie's so good.
And then
I love
so
that movie.
so it's so cool that people are doing this, and I think I understand why drive-in theaters ended up slowly dying out. People were more comfortable just coming in to a theater and sitting down. But
also areas got more congested too.
Yeah, you'd have to put together a massive lot just to go and watch a movie.
Oh, parking decks.
just put together parking decks and
a big screen. That'd be fun. Wait,
a car amphitheater.
Yeah, somebody who's rich do this and then send us a check. Yeah, like where like all the cars like angled in and like it's just enough of an angle so you can see. Rich people, cut us a check. We'll talk later.
We'll take the royalties. That's all we need.
Please, or naming rights, something. But yeah, no. Drive-in theaters, I always thought were fun, and now with this happening, there's one in way North Jersey. It might actually be over the New York border. I can't remember. Sorry.
Very slightly over the border, most likely.
Don't break your social distancing rules to do this if you haven't been with people, but they are amazing dates. They're amazing dates.
Once again, we have been told by different
trunk, in the tailgate, watch the movie.
You've been told by many different health officials that if you're going to be traveling like this, unless it's necessary for an emergency, make sure you're traveling within. Basically, you can go back home after you're traveling before the day is over. So if you're traveling upstate New Jersey, yeah, you should be fine. Upstate New York, maybe don't push it that far.
No.
Don't drive into Canada. Let's not do that.
No.
So the border is closed to most travel. However, I think it's really cool that Montclair State especially is involved in this and just bringing back of drive-in theaters. And I hope this stays for the foreseeable future, because sometimes I don't want to be in a theater with people. I'm going to be completely honest. Sometimes I just don't want to be in a theater with people.
Factual truth.
People can be
sometimes there's annoying people sometimes in theaters, and you're just trying to sit and watch the film, and they're like throwing things, and you're like,
shut up,
stop.
Right.
They're constantly have their phones out. If you're
it's the most important part of the movie, and then
you see the person just come up like
shut up.
They're just like walking across the screen. It's like, sorry, excuse me. Sorry.
Yes.
Like,
I've been that person, though. I can't say we've all been that person.
I mean, look. I think that last one is more of an annoyance. Like, you get it. Sometimes you have to leave. You might get a call that you need to do. You might,
My phone is off during the movie.
You might need to run to the bathroom. Because I remember I watched Real Steel, cinematic masterpiece, Real Steel, starring Hugh Jackman. I actually really like that movie.
About the boxing robots?
I really like that movie.
Yeah.
But I
don't tell me you had to go to the bathroom.
I did.
My God.
I went to the bathroom at the final fight. I could not make it.
Yo, but this is a good personality test.
Amanda did point this out. When you hear every single bite of their food.
Yeah. You're in that thing and it's the most important scene or whatever, and then you hear
like right
my
by
great
your ear.
aunt did that at a funeral.
Oh my God. It's just the usual eulogies, like he was such
dearly
a great
beloved.
No, but so I know Philippe with the bathroom thing. So my aunt, I need to tell. So I'm one of those people. I don't like getting up during the movie. If I don't have to, I will not. Y'all have seen me do it on the buzz too. I wait like an hour. So my aunt Dana and Donna, they're sisters. They're wonderful. They're like, let's go see the movie about the Beatles. Yesterday, where they all forget about the Beatles. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and I'm thinking it's getting to the end of the movie because I really had to pee. I really had to go. There was another hour, and I somehow made it through. I made it through the whole movie, and I was like, Dana, we gotta go.
I've made it through plenty of movies, holding it in and feeling like I needed to go, but just I don't know, the stars aligned for Real Steel that I just had to the stars just aligned and like you need to evacuate right now. You need to go.
Like,
it is you're hitting DEFCON 1 in terms of needing to use the bathroom.
Like, it also depends on the chairs too. Like, the movie theater I went to, they have like this really bougie one where they live, and it's like reclining chairs.
I love
so
those.
I was like, I really have to go, so let me just extend the
Right. I think this is a good personality test for who you're with, though. Like, you need to be able, you need to go to, you got to be going to the movies with people who are like, who you're just like, yo, I got to go to the bathroom, tell me what I missed. And they'll give you that rundown when you get back.
Oh, yeah, I was with my sister. And you know my sister.
So you know when you get back, like, what I miss? And then like, okay, this happened, this person fucked this person, now you're up to speed. Like, you need to go to the movies with those people. If anybody's refusing to tell you or like is difficult about it, no.
Yeah. So on the topic of movies, we actually got some great news coming out of Warner Brothers with some premiere dates.
Question.
You have a question before we go on?
Yes. Have you ever had to immediately run to the bathroom after a sad movie?
Yes.
Isn't that the most awkward experience of your life? I think it happened. The last one that happened to me was the end of Rogue One, which is one of my favorite Star Wars movies, but the end is sad. And like, I'm in the bathroom, like going to the bathroom, and like, I just like,
you're doing your thing.
Died, like, and just like try to like not sob as I'm like washing my hands. I can see myself in the mirror. People looking at me like, "What?" I'm like,
I don't think I've ever seen. I've never seen like a sad movie in theaters, to be completely honest. Like, I'll sob on Netflix watching Nicholas Sparks, but you know.
I didn't mean to cut you off, though. I'm sorry I cut off.
It's fine. It's fine.
I just wanted to bring that up.
We have an article from Vulture.com talking about Warner Brothers and some of the things that they've done in terms of announcing new premiere dates. So specifically, two big Warner Brothers Brothers movies that we're gonna be put out this summer. I've been giving you release dates. So Christopher Nolan's new movie Tenet, excuse me, and Wonder Woman 1984 have both been moved. So Tenet, the debut was supposed to be July 17th and was moved back about 2 weeks to July 31st. Wonder Woman has a longer push. Patty Jenkins' movie, of course, starring Gal Gadot, it was originally slated for a summer August 14th release. It's been pushed back all the way to October 2nd. Originally, it was supposed to come out June 5th. It was pushed back to August 14th. Now it's on October 2nd. It's interesting to see the movie industry kind of have to, shuffle things around. As you can tell from, Wonder Woman 1984, it's 1980s. You see here in the video screen all the 80s vibe and aesthetic. They made her costume even more colorful and everything.
Yeah. Also, one of my absolute favorite parts of the DC universe is the Wonder Woman movies and Gal Gadot in the Justice League stuff too. Like, is unquestionably one of my favorite parts of.
With other movies getting pushed back, Godzilla vs. King Kong was pushed from around Thanksgiving to May 21st of next year.
I want to see that.
The Robert Zemeckis remakes of The Witches was originally for October 9th and moved to an unspecified date. The fourth Matrix movie, which still has not given a title, by the Wachowski sisters. Stop calling them the twins. Call them the sisters. You were fine with calling them the brothers before they transitioned. Now you won't call them the sisters. My little soapbox there.
Speak.
The movie was moved from the 21st of May next year to April 1st, 2022. The reason they moved it
that's so
back 2
far
years
away.
was because they had to stop production.
Right. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
like there's a lot that goes into these movies, especially like action movies like that where it's a big blend of not just like CG but like physical on-set things that need to be put into place, and
Yeah.
like it's a lot. So I don't
And-
blame them for that. Also, I
and the
didn't realize
Wachowski
that they were
sisters-
coming back, and that makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah,
about
the Wachowski sisters are also very they're very particular about how they do their movies. We saw with the first 3 Matrix movies they did. They have their own system. They have the way that they like to direct. They have their I would call them auteurs. You know, that fancy term for like a very very particular director that you hear in the movie industry. So I can understand why this kind of stuff gets pushed back. They want it
Tenet
to be
looks
done
fun
right.
too.
Tenet was that one. I remember watching the trailer for it before the last Star Wars movie, where it has time manipulation.
The last Star Wars movie.
It was time manipulation. There's a bunch of weird stuff going on. I think Robert Pattinson's in it for some reason. We didn't get a lot from that first trailer. It was more of a teaser than a trailer. But interestingly enough, the release of Wonder Woman 1984 happens to land on College Radio Day.
Ooh.
So cool, right?
That's very cool. Godzilla versus King Kong also got moved, which is cool. I think that's kind of cool that they're doing that too, which is a nice little like tip of the hat to the old movies and the way that franchise used to work.
It's interesting. People love the first Godzilla movie that came out recently, the one in the US, because there was
After this, remind me to tell you my experience with the Godzilla movie.
There was Shin Godzilla in Japan was a big success because it was just classic Godzilla style. But the Godzilla here in the U.S. got some criticism from fans overseas because they're like, Godzilla was too big. Godzilla was much bigger. But I think he looks cool. The problem came afterwards. The Godzilla King of Monsters.
My giant fighting monster is too giant.
Godzilla King of Monsters didn't do well with fans. Fans loved the first one. They didn't like the second one as much. But King Kong did really well. King Kong and the Curse of Skull Island or something.
Yeah.
And then, which Sam Jackson was in it. Fantastic as usual. But
a lot of people won that one. If I remember, it had like a big ensemble.
Yeah, Godzilla vs. King Kong should be good.
I'm excited.
Really interesting.
I gotta tell you, yeah, like I forget what movie it was. I think I was actually one of the few times I went to see a movie by myself, like, which is a relatively rare happening. But I went to see, oh my God, what was it? It was like a pretty, like, it wasn't an action movie. It was something else. So like, there wasn't too much crazy happening sound wise, but next to me in the Dolby surround sound theater was Godzilla. And all I heard underneath the movie I was watching the entire time was this. Like just bass underneath everything I was watching. Just bass. It's not Godzilla's fault. It's just like the way that the building was set up. So like I remember coming out and being like, were they just like, what was happening over there?
They had a microphone. They had a microphone just going, boo, boo.
Yeah, with like and like the bass knob just cranked all the way up. But that's not the
bass and treble. The bass and treble.
Yeah.
But we're gonna go into some sad news.
Very heavy, very emotionally taxing, very sad news. Annabella, appropriate music, please.
I'm gonna crinkle my candy bar during the eulogy.
Yes. Can we get some appropriate music?
So, today, as of today.
Hold up, wait for the trumpets. Wait for the trumpets.
So,
proceed.
As of today, it is going to be the last day you can access HawkSync. We will be moving the Center for Student Involvement, are replacing the platform with a new in-purpose service called Engage. As we know, HawkSync was one of the main resources the radio station used for things like forums, signups, events.
He's a good man.
It was a good moment.
Good website.
Good years.
Always.
Remember first signing up.
When I hit refresh, he always loaded.
Remember always signing up for my first ADJ training session.
All
through
our
Hoxic.
forms were there.
The first musical trip I went on.
All our forms lived there. It signed me up for organizations that I wasn't a part of and didn't want to be in, but I never held it against him. He was doing his best.
He was doing his job. That was it.
So what if I never even wanted to set foot in anything resembling Greek life and they signed me up for notifications anyway? So what? I never held that against him. He was just doing his job.
Screw.
But yeah.
So a moment of FCC compliant silence for Hoxic. You've done right by us over the years. I hope you're at the great URL link in the sky.
The great database in the sky.
The great server in the sky. Which has massive unlimited broadband, so you can access yourself whatever you please.
You can send everyone notifications.
You could send everyone in the next life all the notifications that they need.
No one will complain. All the forms will be there.
All the forms, and you know what? I'll do you one better. I bet on the other side, whoever is in charge of their ADJ department will always make sure the forms are posted on time, unlike us. And I can say that because that used to be my job. So don't judge me. I hope you're doing well on the other side.
It will be interesting switching over to this new system because there's always going to be a bit of a learning curve no matter what. Unless you're someone who has worked with Engage before, it's going to be interesting. And we do a lot with Hoxic. That's where all our forms are, like we said.
Yeah,
for
that wasn't
signups for
a joke.
ADJ training.
They're all there.
Yeah, for signups for ADJ training, signups for when you do stuff like the bake sale and the end of the year stuff, signups for when you do when you sign up for your shows and everything. Like that's where all our stuff
summer
is.
schedules and stuff.
Hoxic did me well for a year, sending.
Yeah. Our actual communication, like in terms of scheduling stuff and keeping people on track of what's going on, Discord. It's the easiest way to communicate. Discord
sleeps. No one sleeps on the Discord.
That's why I keep it. Sometimes when I'm on my computer, I keep it on Do Not Disturb because I don't need to hear the pings every 5 seconds.
What are you talking about? I never do that.
But yeah. Goodbye, Hoxic. Long may you reign.
Hoxic, may it rest.
In pieces.
You're always good to us most of the time. I don't really know why we're switching, but
probably just
it's been real
things. But
it's been real, Hoxic.
We could talk about a prickly situation here in West Texas. This is a couple days ago, but a man pleaded guilty in connection with a West Texas ring that smuggled rare living rock cacti, a plant that wildlife officials say are protected species. So this is a case that dates back to 2018. The government seized Harry George Bach II.
Wow. What an
illustrious name. He had a shipment of 41 cacti in International Mail City in Chicago in 2018. And the U.S. Attorney's Office for Western District of Texas says that he, from El Paso, pleaded guilty Tuesday before a U.S. magistrate judge in Pecos to one count of the actual violation is mislabeling exports. And the scheme itself was to send cacti overseas. This is from NBC, their Dallas-Fort Worth news studio.
May I raise my hand?
He's getting old. He's getting 3 months of probation, and he's gonna have to pay $7,200 in restitution as part of his plea agreement.
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
For what?
Why were you smuggling? What cactus holds so much value that you needed to ship it overseas?
Cacti are already a pretty popular just plant to have. Succulents in general.
I own 2 cacti. I've had one since 6th grade. His name's Bob. He's very tall.
His name Bob.
And most cacti are pretty easy to take care of. Like I doubt, unless you live in like New Mexico and Arizona, that you own a saguaro cactus. You know, the big ones that go like this.
Yeah, the saguaro. Oh, they're so pretty. I got to see them in Arizona.
You showed me pictures, and those things are massive. I would not want to be. I would not want to be near one. I would not want to Wile E. Coyote my way into a bunch of saguaros. cacti?
No, not at all. But what's cool about them is like, even like we brought a kid's book about it back to my niece that like every stage of the cacti's life has something important for the ecosystem. Like they're like a really big, like even in death, even like when they fall over, like after they die, like there's animals that use that as a shelter, you know, like there's
They
organisms
take a
that
little
use
longer to decompose because of just the way they're very fleshy and
and like fibery, and like they like in every stage of their life they're really important because people use them as a shelter. Animals use them as animals rather. I've never heard of a person living in a cactus, but I'm sure it could be done. Animals use them as a shelter.
You said fiber, and all I can think of someone who isn't regular just eating cactus and it goes right through them.
Oh no, that would make things worse. You don't want to do that. But my point being that like pretty much every plant and animal has a reason for being where it is on this earth and kind of has a job to do. If I'm right, and I think I am.
Even the lowly mosquito has a job in the ecosystem. Scientists have been trying to get rid of them, but they've also said, like, we don't know if we should get rid of them because
things eat them.
Things eat them. Same thing, you know, find a spider in your house. Maybe don't kill it. Maybe just put it outside.
That's what I do.
Find a roach in your house. I'm murdering that thing. Like
full flamethrower.
It's a fight on site.
Yeah,
I put them on a piece of paper and then I put them outside. And I say, okay, buddy, you can go.
Yeah, spiders provide.
I'm pretty nice.
Even those like house centipede things, even though they look kind of funky, they eat bugs. They keep bug populations in check, so they're important. So my point is like, why are you removing these and like shipping them off to other places? What are you doing?
Our producer Amanda pointed out that purchases of cacti and other succulents have become very popular in quarantine. But the interesting thing to me is this is a case from 2018.
It took 2 years.
It took 2 years for them to settle that case, which I imagine there's a lot of legal stuff. There's a lot of plea bargaining and all that jazz.
No, I'm just picturing a cactus attorney with a suit.
Yeah, I bet they filed for emotional distress.
The cactus had like a suit that a little spikes poking out of the suit.
Yeah. But like also he was smuggling these things, right? So when I hear smuggling and like old time thievery, like I imagine somebody like shoving cacti down their pants or under their shirt or something and trying to like escape with them. Like you put yourself at risk, my friend.
I'm imagining Han Solo just stuffing the bottom decks of the Millennium Falcon with cacti.
Trying to make that Kessel run.
Like he's not smuggling spice. He's not smuggling spice
cacti.
Anymore. He's smuggling cacti.
Space cacti.
Jabba the Hutt. Oh man.
Oh my god. But like I'm imagining, like, how did you get them? Like, or like, what did you not notice? And like, did you put one in a giant cactus shaped bag?
Well, that's the thing. It's a cacti ring. It was a cacti smuggling ring, meaning
there's a good chance.
There's a good chance we might find out more information as more people are caught in the smuggling ring.
Right.
If they're caught.
Or if they escape justice.
Yeah.
But like, what was he like walking past like people in the park with like a giant cactus shaped sack? Like, it's just me, just like walking out, like, you know, trying to not be noticed. These things are big.
Do you think he camouflages as a saguaro cactus? So
he makes it look like a person.
Yeah, as he's trying to steal cacti, like the authorities start coming by, and he just like, oh no.
He dresses them up like Scooby-Doo on the plane, dressed as a grandmother, but it's cacti.
Could you imagine? He's just on the plane next to a cacti dressed up as a woman, and he's like, "Yep, it's my wife." It's like,
and he's trying to like put his arm around her, and he's like bleeding.
The air marshal's like, "You ever kissed your wife? I want to see you kiss her right now."
We're going through a rough patch. We're going through a prickly part of our relationship.
Oh.
Oh no. We have one other story for you today, and I don't think it gets any better either.
No, this one is legitimately horrifying.
So
we were
eBay,
debating this whether we should do this or not, because this one is like things.
This is an article from NJ.com, by the way. It was posted yesterday, and it's pretty new. So eBay staffers sent live spiders and cockroaches to harass couple, authority says. So 6 former employees were charged with, and this is how the article words it, quote, waging an extensive campaign to terrorize and intimidate the editor and publisher of an online newsletter with threats and disturbing deliveries to their home, including live spiders and cockroaches, federal authorities said Monday. Unquote.
I have a theory. Are you ready?
Speak on it. Speak.
These eBay employees are the same ones sending the pizzas.
Oh my God. But they're not in the but they're not in Belgium.
Hey, no one knows where the pizza, like, come on. They could be sending it from halfway across the world.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's why no one knows where it's coming from.
One of the people charged in this case was eBay's senior director of safety and security.
Oh my God. Exactly. This is another quote.
You had one job.
Quote. This is another quote from NJ.com by way of the Associated Press, or the other way around. The Associated Press by way of NJ.com. Executives were upset about the newsletter's coverage. So, because the people they were terrorizing were a couple that ran a newsletter, and basically, I guess they were covering something about eBay that they didn't like. And executives,
Rich, let me tell you.
There's a lot.
You go on.
You're going to run out of spiders to send to people if you were trying to harass everybody who has something negative to say about eBay. But executives were upset about the newsletter's coverage, so the employees set out to ruin the lives of the couple who ran the website, sending, check this out, a funeral wreath, bloody Halloween pig masks, and other items, including pornographic magazines with the husband's name on it, to their neighbor's house.
And planned to break into the couple's garage to install a GPS device on their car. This is a quote from the Massachusetts U.S. Attorney.
Stalking.
The Massachusetts U.S. Attorney Andrew Lelling said this to reporters, quote, "This was a determined systematic effort by senior employees of a major company to destroy the lives of a couple in Natick, all because they published content that company executives didn't like. For a while, they succeeded, psychologically devastating these victims for weeks as they desperately tried to figure out what was going on and stop it," unquote.
This makes eBay look even worse, though. Do they understand that? Like, if you had responded with, oh, what can we do to be better, improve your service? No. We're going to make it worse. We're going to send you spiders. You have a fun time.
We have the names of the perpetrators, by the way. So you have James Bao, he's from San Jose. eBay's, at the time, was eBay's Senior Director of Safety and Security.
That's
David Hardville of New York, eBay's Director of Global Resiliency. They're both charged with conspiracy to commit cyberstalking and conspiracy to tamper with witnesses. The other former employees are Stephanie Pop, a former senior manager of global intelligence, Brian Gilbert, former senior manager of special operations for eBay's global security team, Stephanie Stockwell, former manager of eBay's global intelligence center, and Veronica Zia, a former eBay contractor who worked as intelligence analyst in the global intelligence center. There were no lawyers listed for them in court documents.
Imagine being the public defender that has to go to bat for these people.
Mind you, this was back in 2019. It was a lawsuit filed by eBay accusing Amazon of poaching its sellers. It's just like...
I think eBay's just jealous because Craigslist and Amazon both have them.
Yeah. After the bloody pig mask was delivered, the editor received a message saying, "Do I have your attention now?" according to court documents.
And I need you to be what I need you to specify right now, because I need you to understand this, people listening. They spelled your like the internet way, like just the letters UR. So like this letter looks like it was written by a freaking high schooler.
Do they have a photo of it? I'm so mad.
It's just insane.
They also posted the couple's names and address online, advertising things like yard sales and encouraging strangers to knock on the door. This is ridiculous.
Could you imagine if eBay put this amount of effort into actually improving their website and experience for users?
Yeah, imagine if these people actually did their job.
Like, eBay already has issues with a lot of fake items listed online as proper items. You know, especially if you're a collector of any sort, who's looking to, you're selling jerseys, you're selling collector items.
You're selling jerseys, and you keep sending them to your friend's house.
Yeah, because you're an absolute you're an absolute irrelevant human being that thinks your friend is a personal U.S. postage system. But
Your friend's gonna start charging soon, and you're not irrelevant. You just keep sending me jerseys to my house.
I'm trying to send you a message. I'm trying to send you a message.
Oh, you tried to send a message because I said something about you.
You didn't
Do
show
I
up to my
have
show
your
once.
attention now?
Could you imagine if I ordered something to send to your house like within the next few days and just leave a little message inside saying it, just like something very obscure,
Like,
and just you text me it's like, hey, why did this say April 74th, 1999?
right. I'll tell you what we had was, when a company sends you things that you don't want, like, or like a charity, like one of those pseudo charities sends you like items or something to try to get you to like rope you in.
I know St. Jude always sends like the stamps and everything for free.
Right. Well, they're a real charity, but like there's like these other organizations that like mess around and like
they'll send you like a nickel or something.
Yeah.
And like, this
exactly.
is, you
A
can
pair of
increase your
socks
donation.
showed up at my house the other day.
Excuse me?
A pair of socks to that end showed up at my house. One pair of socks.
So what was the connection to the
Did you keep them?
No.
Are they comfortable?
No. I threw
was it just socks? There was no letter attached. There was no information attached.
We had to deduce who the socks came from.
Well, I can tell you, I didn't order socks.
Yeah.
At least
Do you want
know
me
what
to
I'm.
send you socks?
Do you want us to send you
I'm
socks?
all right. I think I'm all right.
Do you want us to send for your birthday, which by the way
Is
is
the next Tuesday?
Tuesday? Do you want us to send you cryptic eBay purchases?
Yeah.
Only
Things that you don't even
if
want.
they're flippable. Only if they're flippable. And
Yeah, I'll buy you like a.
I'm just gonna buy you a mailbox. I don't know why.
A second mailbox.
A mailbox.
Yeah.
In fact,
can you please
I'll
deliver all my mail to 50.1 Sherman Avenue?
I will
Just
get
send
you
you-
a mailbox from like the street over. I won't even order it from you two.
You're just gonna drive to Cedar Grove, steal someone's mailbox, and leave it on Tara's doorstep, and be like,
Better
"Here
yet,
you go."
I'm gonna steal Tara's mailbox.
And
I wish you wouldn't. It's right next to my door. You'd have to get up on my front porch to steal my mailbox.
That's some Godfather type stuff, when he leaves the horse head in the bed, but instead of the horse head, it's a mailbox at your doorstep.
Yeah.
But we're coming to the end of the show today. These last few stories are fun. Also, my ears are completely clogged right now, like when you get an altitude change.
Oh,
so
God.
like everything's muffled. But yeah, it's some interesting stories, and we had a good uplifting story.
Yeah.
So I think this is good, but ears just popped.
Oh God.
But
I hate that. I had there was a while where I had that happening. It was actually the first doctor's appointment I've been to since COVID was to go get that taken care of.
Oh yeah, no, I have that problem driving from campus because I go through that, that part of 280 near the exit.
Yes.
You know which exit?
Where it cuts through the mountain, and it like there's an altitude change, so your ears always like without fail.
Mm-hmm. But we are at the end of the show for today. I want to thank all our wonderful listeners for tuning in and watching us. I want to thank, of course, my wonderful co-host Tara and our wonderful newscaster Hallie, and our producers Ryan and Amanda for helping us always put stuff together, and of course Adam and Annabella, our engineer and our manager, for really just putting all this together and making sure the radio station is functioning and not on life support every day. But I want to thank everyone for listening in, and tune in tomorrow. We have more Morning Buzz for you, different casts, different hosts, but same great content. But you are listening to 90.3 WMSC up in Montclair. I've been Philippe. I've been here with Tara and Hallie, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.